So I'm at between 5 and 6 to 1. My lifetime gross profit is 1.5K. And it's up to $250 to cost to acquire customers.
That's fantastic.
So, and the thing is I don't sell like a $10,000 course. I think it's a 2350 or 2850. So right now I have Alexandra who's training. She's gonna have her first sales call today. And so the good thing is she's been rehearsing with Joe, and and then she's being very confident. I'm spending about $900 every 5 days on ads.
Okay.
So I'm wondering, like, if I want to double at this, do I just like double ads, and then Alex and I take sales calls, and then eventually I hire someone else to replace me on
That's probably the exact playbook I would do. Yeah. I would probably, just because, is she like about to take calls like Monday or Tuesday or something? Okay, so yeah, I would probably give like a week of her taking calls just so that you can be the coach that she might need to make the adjustment. You also don't want to double ad spend only to find out that she can't convert and like you can't coach her and now you have to go find a new person, because that is an option. So yes, I agree with you. I would double ad spend, but I would wait a week to see how this new salesperson performs. Because when salespeople start taking sales calls, there's only a few options. One, they crush it. Great, you'll spend more money on ads. Two, they don't crush it, but they're within somewhat of a range of KPI, so you can coach them to KPI. Three, they're absolute ass. They're terrible, and you would spend more time trying to coach them to KPI than it would be worth than just going out and finding a new person. So to understand that third option does exist. So the last thing you want to do is double ad spend today. Then you figure out that she's option three and she's really bad. And now you have all these sales calls in your calendar. She's not performing. You have to find a new person. And really quickly, that 6 to 1 can go to 1 to 1 or 2 to 1. So I would give her a couple days, see how she performs, and know that they fall in those three categories. So like, what is your historic close rate?
about 35%.
Okay. So like, let's say and do you have a KPI for her that you want her to be at?
That's the thing. I don't know like how much she would have to be at in order to.
So that's a good example of, so the really good thing of the CAC to LTV that you have right now is you have room to run. And a good lesson for everybody here too is that, let's just say for easy numbers, you're at 6 to 1. Let's say she comes in and you're at 5 to 1. What most business owners I work with would do would stop scale and try to fix it to go to 6 to 1. But the problem is that there's actually a greater cost of not just spending more money on ads and getting 5 to 1. I mean, you're putting $1 in and getting $5 out. So like, and it might take you a month to get another salesperson that'll bring you up to 6 to 1, where you could have spent, let's just say, $100,000 in ads that month and made $500,000 in profit. So it's literally costing you $500,000 in profit to go out and find another salesperson there. So there's two ends of that spectrum always. One is like, okay, they're not as good as me, but I'm still within KPI, which I said was 3 to 1. You could say is 4 to 1 or 5 to 1. So you'll be able to, now that we're saying you're at 6 to 1, and I'm saying the floor could be 3 to 1, which I don't know everything, but that's, you put $1 in and get $3 out in profit. That's a good business anywhere. You now can reverse engineer the different close rate KPIs that she can be at. So like, okay, if she's at 20%, you're at a 3 to 1. If she's at 25%, you're at a 4 to 1. If she's at a 30%, you're at a 5 to 1. And if she's at 35%, you're at a 6 to 1. Those are gross numbers. I don't know what it would be. But that way you can then say, okay, you need to be at this number for us to work together. And then you'll know how she's doing in the first week. You'll know the KPI.
Got it. And then in terms of hiring, because obviously if I double, let's say it does work out and I double, then I would have to like get more teachers. I have two main types of classes. One is practice rooms, and they get paid $12 an hour. So these are native speakers who moved abroad, until it works out for them. And the good thing is I do have like a good place to tap into to get those teachers. But then the more intensive teachers, like the ones that get one-on-one students, they get paid about 20 to 25 an hour. But they do need to go through some kind of training, let's say, but it's not rocket science. It's just a few like things that they need to know. Would you recommend that I promote within, or hire like out?
Yeah. So, okay. So I'll address two parts of that. The first is, if you are going to like pretty quickly run into a fulfillment bottleneck as soon as you double the ad spend, I actually probably wouldn't put yourself on sales calls. I would probably look to hire another salesperson. Yeah, that way you can double the business without you having to go right back into taking sales calls again. That's a good idea for a short-term strategy so that you can also protect a little bit of profit, et cetera, and stability. But let's say this first one works out really well. Like, okay, then great. You should just hire another person. And now you've doubled the business and you still have time. If anything, you actually have more time because you're not doing the sales calls you're doing right now. And then I would spend that time developing a little bit more of a fulfillment system around how many teachers do you need per clients. So everything is essentially a factor of ad spend. So when you say double ad spend, you're saying you're spending $1,000 every 5 days. So what is that? $200 a day. So let's say that when you go to $400 a day, how many salespeople do you need? Because how much availability do you need on the calendar? How many teachers do you need? Because how many teachers are required for every single client? And you said you had 2 offers. Well, you should have the historic mix of like 60% do this offer, 40%. So use that as your baseline of like, okay, for every new client that we have, or every 10 new clients or whatever else is, I need this many teachers. And that way you can be proactive for it. So next month coming up, you're saying, okay, I really want to spend $1,200 a day in ads. You're going to 5x you're doing. But in order for that to happen, I need to hire 5 more $12 an hour teachers and 3 new of the other ones. So that's the first step. Does that make sense? Now, in regards to hiring within, not hiring within, I'm always a fan of hiring within. However, I think people do it incorrectly, in my opinion. People say, you've been with me for a while, you're pretty talented, you know sales or fulfillment, you should be the director. What I believe you should do is you should create a job posting like you were not going to hire within, that you were going to go to LinkedIn, anywhere else. And these are all the qualifiers of my dream role in this position. Then you can post inside your general Slack channel or individually message somebody and say, hey, Bob, you've been working with me for a couple of years. I think you'd be a great fit for this position. Depending on how you interview and apply on this, here's a link for you to apply, and they can apply to it. Now you're treating them like every other applicant that comes to that process. Because the truth is if they are good, but then you also put it on LinkedIn, you get somebody who's great, you owe it to the company and everybody else that's working there in order to hire the great person, right? So, and that person a lot of times will just be appreciative that you thought of them in the first place. And I guess somebody might be upset that they didn't get the opportunity to advance, but once again, some people have called me a little harsh, but you don't owe it to that person. You owe it to the organization and everybody else working in that company, because you want everyone to keep on having a job. You don't want the business to go under because you were helping out people that were working there for a while.
When doing the job posting, is it a good idea to say something like, oh, there's a possibility to get promoted?
I am very cautious of saying that. So yeah, there's something called vision casting when you're hiring, which is really fantastic to do. That's the reason why I still am involved in a lot of our hiring process, even though we have a team there. Because on the last call, I'm like really trying to sell this person on the position of working for the company. However, more times than not, when I do stuff like, oh, you have the opportunity to advance in this position, this position, it comes back and bites me in the ass, right? Because like maybe the company's not growing at the rate that it needs to. Maybe I found somebody else that's better than this person that is going to take that position. So I try almost never to do that. I mean, if you look at typical like Fortune 500 companies, somebody will be in a company for years before they have any chance of a promotion. So I would argue that you really want somebody who'd be okay doing that position for, I mean, minimum 6 months, like, which is so funny to even say, but really like a year or 2 years. That way, and it is very rare that somebody that you hire will have the skill sets to be, and I'm specifically talking about like the doer to the management level. Those are 2 completely different skill sets. Not impossible, but I would be cautious of trying to paint too much of a rosy picture, because it might bite you in the butt later on.